Hi, I'm Robert Young. I'm the Director of Operations with Hydra-Slide, and I'd like to welcome you to our training video on our line of conventional power units. Today we'll go over briefly the major components of the power units, some safety features of the power units, setup, operation, and some maintenance, storage, and troubleshooting. All of our conventional power units come in their own mounted cart. The carts come complete with wheels for easy movement, handles that are foldable. We also brought all the controls and couplings up from ground level for ease of use and comfort of the operator, and they all come with their own lifting lug for moving. Our conventional power units come in gasoline models or electric models. This is the CPU-2G. And this here is our CPU-1-2E-RC wireless model. But this training video will apply to all of our conventional power units. All of our conventional power units come with a 10-gallon oil reservoir. Each oil reservoir comes with a sight glass so you can monitor your oil level and the quality of your hydraulic oil. Then up here we have our main control valve, which is a 4-way 3-position valve. In the neutral position, oil flows back to tank, and then shifting it left and right will send oil to the appropriate manifold. Each manifold also comes with its own pressure gauge, so you can monitor your pressure during advancing or retracting your cylinder. On the front side of the unit is your oil manifolds. So you have your manifold A, which comes with V10E flow control valves, and manifold B. This particular unit has 2 outlets, so you can actuate 2 hydraulic cylinders with this unit. So before we get into the setup and operation of this unit, I'd like to just go over a couple of safety points when operating and using this power unit. This power unit does look like a small, pretty nice contained unit, but please keep in mind that it does operate at 10,000 PSI, which if used improperly could be very dangerous. So prior to startup, you want to do a good inspection of all your hoses, hose couplers, your tubing, just a general sense of the system and if it's going to function properly. If you do an inspection and everything's okay, you're okay to start the unit, but please keep in mind that when this system is operating, you don't want people standing in front of the hose connections in case there's an accident with the hose couplers, and you want to ensure that the steel dust caps are always kept in place when not in use. For additional safety information, please refer to the operating manual. Prior to startup, you always want to make sure that the control valve is in the neutral position. This will prevent any unwanted actuation of a hydraulic cylinder if it's connected to the unit. You also want to make sure that the position of the V10E valves is in the position that you want depending on what mode you're operating the system in. So now I'd like to talk about operating these units. To operate these units, you need to know how to start them up. With the gas units are a pull start. So there's a pull start on one side, but there's a throttle, a stop-start throttle and choke on the other side. So for startup with the gasoline unit, you want to shift your throttle to choke and then use the pull start to start the unit. There's 2 modes of operation that these systems are designed for: jacking mode and skidding mode. So depending on which mode you're operating in will determine on which way you arrange your coupler connection on your cylinders to this power unit. When you're operating the power unit in jacking mode, you want to connect the advanced ports of your hydraulic cylinders to the A manifold of the power unit. The A manifold has your V10E valves on it. You want to make sure that your V10E valves are in the fully closed position. This will allow oil to free flow out to advance the cylinders, but it won't allow oil to flow back through the manifold until you open these valves. You would connect your retract ports of your hydraulic cylinders to the B manifold. When you're ready to extend the cylinder, you would shift the control valve to the A manifold. This will extend your cylinders. When the cylinders reach full stroke, you just shift the control valve to the neutral position. Then when you're ready to retract the cylinders, you would shift the control valve to the B manifold and then slowly open both V10E valves at the same time, and this will allow oil to flow through the manifold back to tank, allowing your cylinders to retract. With all conventional power units, you do not want to lift on 4 points at one time. You only want to do end-to-end jacking using at most 2 jacks. And always practice good cribbing techniques under your load so that in the event of an accident, your load only drops a couple inches. The other mode you can operate this conventional power unit in is skidding mode. In skidding mode, you want to connect the advance ports of your hydraulic cylinders to the B manifold and the retract ports to the A manifold with the V10E valves. You want to make sure that the V10E valves in this case are in the fully open position. What this does is when you're skidding, you want to try and make sure that both of your hydraulic cylinders are moving at the same speed. But if your load has a heavier side than the other, or the center of gravity is offset, one cylinder will want to travel faster than the other. So you can use the V10E valves in this case as a flow control valve, and by slowly adjusting the flow rate of the jack that's moving faster, you can restrict the flow of oil to that cylinder, slowing it down. And through a couple of trial and error sequences, you should be able to adjust the speed of the one cylinder to match the speed of the second cylinder. For operating the cylinder in skidding mode then, to advance your cylinder, you would shift the control valve to the B manifold. This will allow oil to flow out through your B manifold to your cylinder, extending it. When you've reached full stroke, then you just shift to the A manifold, and this will allow oil to flow to the retract side of the cylinder through the A manifold, and the cylinder will retract. All right, so now I'll talk about some maintenance, care, and storage of these power units. Prior to storing, you want to just have another inspection to make sure that all the components are in good working condition. There's no sign of oil leaks, damaged components, or wear. If you do find any issues with the power unit, make sure that you have it fixed by a certified hydraulic technician that's certified in 10,000 PSI hydraulics. Another thing you'd like to check always is the quality of the oil and the oil level in your hydraulic oil reservoir. Unless otherwise specified, these units come with the Enerpac Blue 150. If you check the oil sight glass and you see that the oil needs to be topped up, always top up with the same oil that's in the hydraulic oil reservoir. Also, you can check the quality of the oil. If it's cloudy, that means that there's air or water getting into the system. If it's getting dark, that means that the oil has been getting excessively hot, and that might need to be changed. As a general rule of thumb, you'd want to change your hydraulic oil every 250 hours of operation, or more frequently depending on the severity of use and how dirty the site conditions are. When these systems are not in use, they should be stored covered in a dry location where the system can be protected from damage. You want to ensure that your hydraulic connections are always protected, especially ensure that the steel dust caps are always maintained and in place. You can also make sure that the oil drip pan is cleaned out. And when you're making hydraulic connections to the couplers, please use a clean lint-free cloth to clean your hose connections. When transporting these units, please ensure that you lift by either the supplied lifting lug or forklift pockets. These wheels do not lock, so when they are being transported, you've got to ensure that the whole unit is secured. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about troubleshooting with this power unit. We do have a very detailed troubleshooting matrix in the manual, so please refer to your manual for troubleshooting. But I would say the majority of our troubleshooting is due to incomplete hose connections. So the first thing you should always do when troubleshooting is to kind of check your hose connections. Also, another thing that could be a problem is the oil reservoir might not be topped up enough. You might be running low on oil, so ensure that the oil level is topped up in your reservoir. If you continue to have problems and the solution isn't found in the troubleshooting manual, please contact us right away and we will assist you in getting the unit up and running again. If you're using our wireless control model, there's a couple features I'd like to go over with that. Each wireless model comes with its own handheld wireless controller and its own individual control panel. The control panel has an emergency stop that can be used to stop the unit in an emergency situation instantly. You just push the emergency stop in, the whole system will shut down. In order to start the system up, you just twist and pull the switch out. The control panel has a disconnect switch, so you'll want to make sure that that disconnect switch is in the on position. That will send power to the whole control panel and the motor. If you need to open the panel up to do any maintenance or inspection, always make sure that that's turned to the off position. The other feature here is that you can use this toggle switch to operate either in local control, that gives you the ability to use these control buttons to advance and retract your cylinders. That's in local control. Or if you want to use remote control, you shift the toggle switch to the remote and you can use the handheld device. If you want to operate the system using the handheld wireless device, first make sure that the toggle switch for the mode is in the remote REM position. Next, you want to turn on the remote controller, and that's pulling the switch out. You'll see a blue light comes on. To start it, you push the start button. You'll see a green light tells you that you have communication with your controller. And now you can start the power unit up. With the power unit running, you can now use the buttons labeled A and B, which correspond to the A and B manifold. So you can advance with your A or retract with your B. When you're ready to stop, push the stop button and the whole unit shuts down. To turn the power off on the handheld controller, you depress the base switch. If for some reason the handheld device stops working, you still have control of the power unit by switching the mode switch to local control. If you switch to local control, you use the push buttons to start the hydraulic pump, and you use the push buttons to advance or retract the cylinder. When you're ready to stop the unit, you simply push the stop button and the power turns off. Whichever mode you're operating in, if you're in remote control mode, the push buttons on the control panel are deactivated so no one can come along and accidentally advance or retract the cylinder. Same thing when you're in local mode. If someone comes up and starts pushing the buttons on the wireless remote, there won't be any accidental advance or retracting of the cylinders. Well, this brings us to the end of our training video. Our service doesn't stop here, so if we can be of any further assistance, please feel free to contact us. Thank you.